Welcome back, guys. So this is obviously not our season 2 world that you're looking at right here. This is actually my friend's factory that I've been kind of working on for over the last couple months or so, and we have put so much work into this world, and we are currently sitting a little bit around phase 3, almost to the point of manufacturers. But what we're going to be doing today, and the reason why we're in this world and not our own, is because we're having an issue on this right now, which is going to be based around our power production. Currently, we're only using about 80% of our actual capacity for our consumption. And in order to fix that, we're going to have to go through and pretty much stake a war on the yellow lights in all of our worlds. So we're going to be going through all the factories today, looking for ways to improve efficiency and just kind of generally going through everything to get that number a little bit closer to that 100%. All that being said, guys, let's get into it. So as we're watching this wonderful sunset, I want to give a quick shout out to Troggy right here. This is my friend. This is actually her first time ever playing Satisfactory, and this is her first world that she's ever participated in. She's currently about 100 hours in, and she's designed a large portion of this world. I've been here to help and kind of guide her along the best I can to put her in the right direction, but she's put a ton of work in this world. And if you guys could do me a huge favor and just give her a shout out and tell her that she did an awesome job with her factory, that would probably really mean a lot to her, and it'd mean a lot to me too. So just go down in the comments real quick and do that. We're going to keep moving on with the video. This is going to be our first stop in the video and trying to kind of solve all this. You can already see the amount of yellow lights that are just all around this area. This is probably, honestly, the majority of our problem. So we're going to go through and try to figure out what we need to do to fix all these yellow lights that we have. And it's usually probably going to be based around overflow. But right now, our first step is just to take inventory and everything that we have and try to figure out what the exact problem is. So sometimes it's not all about overflow. With this in particular, we're kind of looking at why this is driving at 62% efficiency, which obviously is a big problem. But our first indicator here is our steel beams is not keeping up. And the reason why that isn't, because this is 24 and this also 24. It's the same recipe, so that's 48 in total. And we only have 2 of these constructors going to it right now. So this is currently making about 30 and we need 48. So we're going to have to pretty much convert all these over to this, and then we're going to have to create the overflow line to go into the truck station over here. So we're going to rework this real quick, and I'll show you what that's going to look like. All right, so we rerouted this. We now have all 4 of these merged into one line here. Going to go to here, which is our smart splitter, and this is set up with our steel beam and then our overflow line. So what we're going to see is it's going to take a minute, but this is all going to come down here, and eventually it's going to start to back up. We need to take out this buffer system because we don't want this here. In terms of efficiency, what's going to end up happening since we have the overflow there, this will have to back up entirely before we start to get steel beams over there, and there's no point in having steel beams here if we have a truck station right here that will go all the way down and into our storage system. So we want to get rid of this line because this is not good. Take this out, and then now the only thing this is going to do is fill up here, and then once it starts back up, it'll force us off this way, and then it gets sorted off kind of at our storage facility over there. So this is good. There is a little bit of cleaning up stuff I'm going to do here and there because obviously this place needs a lot of work, but for the most part, I'm not going to probably just be leaving that off camera. We're going to move forward with our next place, which is going to be this over here, which is our steel pipes. You can already see that stuff right there is gridlocked, and I feel like that's due to this up here. So what we need to do is add an overflow system for this, and then go check out what we have going on over at that facility. So like I said, we're not too big on the organizing stuff. This does need a little bit of work because obviously this is a bit janked. But we're going to kind of fix this in the background, and this is something that I'm going to help her out with, just kind of try to how to organize a little bit better. But this is working now, so now we have all these turned on, which is good. So that just fixed a little bit of our efficiency. From here, this can move down into our truck station, but it is backlogging a little bit already. So we're going to work out this, because this is now mixing concrete, the steel beams, and the steel pipe, which may be too much for just this little Mark III line. So in order to kind of help that out along, we're going to go and move this up to Mark IV. So we straighten out this, and now this can go in here. We need to watch and pay attention to our outgoing items because our transfer rate is going to rise now that we actually have this working properly. So we need to make sure that we're not having any issues down the line with our logistics. But that's going to be something we're going to do towards the end of the video. Right now, we're just trying to fix these problems. So we have green here. We have green there. That is yellow. So we're still having a problem right over here. Let me try to figure this out. So the reason why it's yellow is my fault, but I forgot to connect these little belts here. So anytime you do these overhead merger things that I've shown before, they actually need to have a thing connected. So that still is originally only 30. But now we're going to see in a second that this is going to start forcing this down here a lot more consistently, which is exactly what we need. So this is now good, and this should fix it in a second. We're going to come back here in a little while and make sure that this is all fixed. From there, we're going to keep moving down the line and go into our actual factory over here, which is going to be where we make our rotors and everything right here. And we already see that we have a lot of yellow going on. So I'm pretty sure this is just an overflow issue with it not going over to storage. So we're going to investigate that and kind of see what we got to do down below. All right, so through our little door here, this is kind of our staging area for everything. This is where we have our mess of splitters and kind of everything that we have going on underneath. Everything in here is completely at a stop still because this over here is full. We have full on rotors, full on these motors, and then they're merged off to here, which this goes to our line over there. And the reason why this isn't connected is because we don't have storage on the other side, so this would just end up getting dumped off. So what we're going to have to do is go to the other side. If I can get back in this room, I can't get back in there. What we're going to have to do is go over to our truck station over there and work out a way to get this organized with our storage system before we connect this. And then that should solve the efficiency with everything over here. And then we just have to pay attention to what the overflow is. The reason why I'm not just adding a resource sink over here is because I don't really see the point in draining it right here if I'm going to drain it in my actual storage room. So that would be a double overflow, which would be pointless, and we're not doing that. So we're going to go ahead and head back. So we're back here behind our truck station. We have a Mark IV line coming out, and this goes to the back of everything where it's sorted. And then from here, it runs off, and it goes through some walls, a little bit of phasing, no big deal. And it goes to a resource sink here. So this is all the stuff that comes to our storage that can't be actually put in these boxes. And what I'm talking about is if I put a resource sink over there, and then I also have one over here, then there's no point in having one or the other. Like they're going to do the exact same thing. It's just a matter of where it's going to back up at, and there's just not a point of having another machine, and that's going to ultimately hurt efficiency for a power grid because it's not going to run because it won't get anything. So that's all fine and dandy. We're going to just figure out how to get into one of these chests. We're probably going to use this one right here because I don't have anything here. So I have to account for our rotors, which I believe we already have a chest for somewhere down our other storage system. And then we have the motors as well. So we're going to figure out where I'm going to put that exactly, and I'll show you guys that in a second. Okay, so we figured out our motor section, which is just going to be this one right here, which is an empty crate anyway. So that's all worked out. For our rotors, we ran out of the storage crates on this wall. We have the other side, but I have to kind of do some phasing through the wall, and I don't want to do that. So we set up this smart splitter here, and this is only going to take the rotors out of here. So everything else will kind of get moved off down here, and the rotors are going to go out through this wall, and then we'll get to see them come down through here and go to our storage system over here. So that's going to be really neat just to kind of see that happen. It kind of adds to this whole structure and everything down here. So I'm going to set everything up, and I will be right back. We're pretty much hiding a lot of stuff underneath the floor, but there is another maintenance room in here that is pretty much the storage or the splitting section behind this wall. So if we come through here real quick, we have this room right here, and this is where we have everything set up. There is a conveyor lift right here that's pulling from that room that we was just at down there. Glitching a little bit. So this should allow this to pull up through here and go through here into our storage system, which our rotors is right here. So as long as I hook everything up and I can start sending the rotors and motors this way, they should figure themselves out. So we're going to head back over there and get everything belted. Okay, we have now connected our line, and this stuff is going to start to move, which is really, really important. It's going to take a little bit for this to kind of pull everything out of here because we have the machines completely backed up all the way to the end. So it's going to pull stuff out, and then it's going to start to take stuff, and it's going to probably take a couple minutes before we see this actually start to turn to the green section. So we're going to let this run. In the meantime, we're going to head back to our storage system, which is all the way back over there through our hyper tubes. And then we're going to start figuring out if what we did is working correctly. And then after that's all done, we'll come back. So it's just going to be a lot of running back and forth, but I hope you guys are learning something from this and kind of figuring out what you can do to add some efficiency into your worlds. Okay, so we're now starting to receive kind of our first shipment of items. So here's our rotors and our motors, and we're going to see where they kind of go off to make sure they get into the right area and just kind of hope that everything works out. So I'm going to watch this for a minute, and I'll let you know. So we've swapped this little sign here to represent our motors, so this is taken care of. And then it's going to be a little bit harder to kind of pay attention down here, but we just need to watch to see if the stuff's actually coming down and then going back into this one, because this is already pretty much mostly full with stuff, so we're going to have to kind of see what happens. So this is what I was talking about with kind of the stuff going by. I think it looks really, really cool, kind of built into the concrete. While I was over here looking at this, I kind of realized something, though. Well, one, this is filling up, so that's good. But also, there's already motors down here. And now I have motors up there, which means that I need to figure out how to get it to here because this is where it needs to be organized at. And I don't have a programmable splitter, which is going to be like the worst part of doing this because now I have to figure out a way to get just 2 specific items off this way. And I believe the encased industrial beams are on there as well, which is kind of an ordeal. So I think what I'm going to end up having to do is if I set this here, and if I set up a merger, like right here, then I can do this. And that looks okay. So that'll be in the air. This is kind of like my bypass for it. I'll still have the encased beams that I'm going to bring in. I'm going to have that go to that chest instead, and I'll kind of rework everything. So then this will have to be motors. If I can click on it. There you go. And then we'll set this to overflow, and that should fix this whole problem. So now the motors are going to be redirected down here as well, and I need to take everything out of that chest that I just put in there. Okay, so I just took everything out of that chest, and now we're seeing it kind of go down to here, which is where we need it to go to. It's just a matter of making sure that's going to the right spot, and then we just need to go back over there and check kind of the efficiency on everything. So we took quite a detour to kind of work on our storage system over there and get a lot of that worked out. We check out this power grid, so we've jumped up quite a bit. We've already gained over 400 megawatts of power, kind of depending on where it's at. So that's a good sign. We're heading in the right direction, but we need to make bigger strides in our power grid if we're going to start fixing this stuff. So we're going to check out some more stuff. I can see some more yellow down there, and we're probably going to have to add some overflow to get rid of some of that. We're going to keep moving forward, though, and I'll let you know what I come up with. With those little belt fixes, it did actually get these assemblers up to 100%, so we've already fixed that issue, which is really, really good news. All this stuff is now green, and this stuff's green as well. If we check out the efficiency on this should be good. Yeah, so these are all at 100 as well. That means that this whole area out here is solved. And then I'm still having some yellow down there, so I got to figure out what the problem is with that. If you're trying to do this and kind of fix some issues in your factory, the best way to do it is always look at the finished product first. So this stuff is making stators, which this is like completely full. This is completely full. And the reason why these aren't keeping up is because these are pretty much a 1-for-1. So 2 of these run 1 of these, and then the other 2 go to this. So this is still fully packed out with motors, which is not good. This is at 0%. So I don't think that belt's hooked up, which is definitely going to cause a big issue down the line, because that's going to mean that both of these are not going to run at all. So let me go down here and check this belt. So it's kind of hard to tell, but if you can see the concrete on the other side. So that means that there's not a belt right there. So if we put a belt there, that will kind of fix this whole ordeal. Now we're going to start to get all these motors out of here, which will, in return, allow the rest of the system to run. So same with before. So these are storage units here that are left behind just to kind of get, just to kind of hold on to stuff because we didn't have our actual storage system set up. But with this here, there's no point in having this because this is never going to back up with the train or the truck station over there. So we're going to take out these lines because we won't need them. And then once this is empty, we're going to do the same thing and get rid of this line as well, because we do not need extra storage systems. This is just the equivalent of acting as an item buffer, which is completely unnecessary. And we're going to get rid of it because that is pointless. We're going to watch this for a second and see if that fixed it. And if it doesn't, we'll keep moving forward and try to figure out what we have to do. We're currently investigating down here. We can see that this has a little bit of a backlog. You can kind of see that we have green lights right here. A little bit hard to tell with the background, but you have green here. As it goes back, it gets more and more yellow. The reason why that is because obviously that isn't moving. So these are completely backlogged and stuck. So we're going to give that a minute to get caught up. And then right here, you see we have 2 yellow lights across each other. So I went to look at it, and there's no belt right here. So we hook up this belt. That should kind of help this system along, and that should clear up all this stuff. Anytime you see a yellow light, you click on it, you get 0%. Obviously, it doesn't have anywhere else to go. And we have a couple more yellows over here that are having a little bit of issue, just because they're backing up. This is at 52%. So we should realistically add some overflow to this, but I don't know if it's really worth doing because we may only squeeze like 8 of the power out of it, which doesn't really seem viable. So I'm not really too focused on this at the moment because there's maybe like 5 or 60 that are struggling. And then over here we have a lot more. So we're going to let this backlog get caught up, and then we're going to probably have to go investigate another problem because we've made a lot of progress, like 9,500. We've already raised it over 600 megawatts. So we're closing the gap a lot, but we're still about 1,500 megawatts off from where we need to be, which means we have a bigger problem somewhere else in the world that we're going to have to figure out. So these smelters down here are kind of dealing with the same type of backlog. So this is because this can't go anywhere. It's just not able to move up the line to the next level. So over time, as that backlog clears out, this will start to fix itself, and we should get, you know, maybe another 50 megawatts out of this factory over here. But currently where this sits, this is pretty well optimized outside of a couple little things. We could add overflow for all the basic ingredients, but I don't really think, I don't know why that's there, I'm taking it. It will add a lot more efficient stuff to it, and it will kind of help it out, but that's not really what we're looking for. Right now we're trying to knock out bulk items. So we're going to move on from this factory and head off to somewhere else where I think there's another problem, which I haven't quite figured out where to go next. A big part would be this Caterium plant over here. I could probably fix that up. And then what I'm really worried about is water extractors. So I'm going to have to check those out and see if I can get that fixed. So we do currently have 3 different coal plants here, and we are running a lot of coal power. The entire 15,000 megawatts of power we have is just off of these 3 coal plants. So I feel like a big loss in power is that, and I'm going to have to go calculate exactly what the difference between those water extractors are. So this is our Caterium plant, and it's honestly kind of a jumbled mess for sure. So we have all of our Caterium, all of our smelters and everything over here. This is all green. This is where we're making an AI limiters, which is a really, really important thing that I've automated. I don't think I've ever automated AI limiters before. So this is all good, but the reason why we're coming over here is because of this problem. So like half of these aren't running. And the reason why half of these aren't running is because when I was doing the math, I messed it up. And I thought I needed 24 of these, and I only needed 12. So somehow I got the math really, really wrong. What we're going to do is we're going to overclock this coal, or the copper node back there, and get it up to actually enough to support this. And it's going to involve adding another row of smelters. So I'm going to bust this out really, really fast. It shouldn't take me too long. And then this should fix the majority of this problem. I ran out of stuff, but I want to just take some time to kind of appreciate this view that you have of the kind of under the highway hypertube we have set up, and then you can kind of start to begin to see this is what we call our parking garage, just because we think it looks like that. And then we have our factory and everything up here. We need to work on this side a little bit, but this over here looks really, really good. All right, so it took me probably like 10-15 minutes, but I got all these smelters set up, and they're all split. I have the Mark IV line back there, and then I overclocked that to 480, which should be enough to power this. Or should be enough to keep up with the actual copper production over here for all these. So we're going to leave this alone for a little bit, let this catch up, and then we're going to see what sort of power gains that we got out of it. And then at the end of all this, we're going to kind of see what we need to do. I think it's going to be the water extractors, which I'm going to have to go calculate the exact problem with that. And yeah, I think we're getting to a point now. We've already made up about 6% efficiency with the last time I calculated it, which is before we did all the stuff with that factory over there. So we should be looking pretty good here soon. So we're almost at a point where this is running at 100% capacity now, so it's getting a lot better. As we were kind of checking this out, it didn't give us a ton of power, but we're starting to see kind of these flat spots form, which means that this is getting less erratic, which is a really good sign. It's still definitely peaking and dropping. Like I think a high point here is like 9.5 or 9,500 right now. So it is getting a little bit flatter here, which is really, really good. But this didn't fix our problem. So we need to keep moving along. We're going to have to look into these coal plants and figure out if we can get that worked out, because that's more than likely our problem, because there's a lot of yellow. With the way that I set up my coal plants, they're not set up to be 100% accurate. So there's definitely going to be a lot of struggling going on with there, especially the water extractors. And those water extractors require a lot of power to run. So I feel like that is our biggest point of inefficiency at this point. This is still having some issues. So I'm going to stay here and troubleshoot some things, and then I'm going to head over there to those coal plants and try to figure out what I can do about that. Okay, either I'm insane, which is not, you know, very far-fetched, honestly. But this is not even moving this over at all, which I thought that I'd already fixed this. And this is all messed up now, too. Which that's because that's not getting copper sheets. So we're gonna look into this because something's wrong over here still. All right, so the reason why this is having a problem is because this is only running at half capacity. I'm only producing 60 sheets, and these all require 20, and I have 6 of these, so I need 120 sheets, which means that this is never going to run at 100%, which is, this is why they're all at 50%, 54%, 50%, 52%. Okay, so what we need to do is there's another coal node, or you know what, now that I can do it because I have the Mark 4 belts is I'm going to overclock this Mark 2 miner, and I'm going to set up an additional 6 of these real quick to get all this worked out. And then we're going to hopefully move on from this factory and never worry about it ever again, because this has been frustrating. Oh boy. Alright, video is getting a little bit long now, but it's okay. So we ended up getting this, all this set up down here. I couldn't go off of that because it is actually a normal node, and I didn't have enough copper, so I had to steal that from over there. And now we're getting to a part where we're expanding the base just to kind of make it run, which is not a very good place to be in. So we have this belt here. This is important. Come on, go in there. All right, well, I'm going to figure out how to get this in there. This should fix a lot of the efficiency issue, and we get an even flatter curve in just a minute. I will give you an update. Okay, after all that, we are starting to look really, really flat. I mean, there's definitely still some variation. It's probably just from that probably kicking in and out as everything kind of gets fully up to tune with what it should be. But we are getting a really nice solid line here, and we're getting a lot closer to kind of figuring this out. The last of this variation is probably going to be from like screws and stuff. This should help this out. This is kind of a system that may involve us actually overflowing those screws down there. But we're going to kind of look elsewhere and see if there's any big picture items that I can see around the world. I would really, really like to check out those water extractors. That's probably what I'm going to go do right now to kind of see what's going on, especially over at this one. This is the first one we did. We kind of just put a lot into it and didn't really try to make it as efficient as we could. And this one is definitely a little bit kind of the same situation. This is a lot better off, but it's still kind of a matter of seeing where everything's at. So we're going to kind of quickly jump around and look at a couple different areas around the map and see what we can do to get things fixed. Okay, so we made our way over to our coal factory over here. I know this doesn't look like coal. This is actually oil production. But over there is that coal plant we're kind of looking at. Just as I was flying over, I did see this line that's not on here. This is completely packed out for these crates for our packaged fuel. So what we need to do is set up overflow for it really fast here. It'll solve a lot of this issue. And I don't have concrete. Unreal. Alright, so now we got this turned on. This can now do this. This will get all of our packagers on, as well as this entire line. And this right here is probably at least 100 megawatts of power just by itself. Between 10 of these refineries, give or take, it's maybe like 150, depending. This is going to take a second for everything to kick on. We're going to actually look at our power grid real quick, because that did not take that long at all. See how far that got us. So now, there's another 300 megawatts of power we just got out of nowhere. That definitely raised our efficiency a lot, and that's going to help out. Now we just need to go look at the water extractors, because there's really not a whole lot. I'm going to dump this line, actually. It should keep up by itself, but dumping this line is going to turn everything on like immediately, and that's what I care about, because I want to see how high this actually rose this. Yeah, it's like, ooh, really, really close to 10,000. So we're almost to that 90% mark, which is really, really important. We've already raised it quite a bit, at least 10% since we started this video, and we got a little bit more work to do, and it's probably going to be done down at the bottom below this with our water extractors. So this whole place over here has kind of become a little bit of a piping mess. It is organized quite a bit. You can already see that there is some orange lights down here, and the reason why this is because I have 2 of these going to 4, so it only requires 200 per minute, and I have 240 in the pipes. It's causing these to back up and shut down. So they're running at less than efficient setup. So this is at 61%. So if I underclock this a little bit down, it'll raise the actual uptime. But the problem that I'm worried about with making this a fully perfect number is I'm really afraid it's going to start shutting down the coal plants, which is kind of a big problem. There is a solution around this. Here, hold on, let me turn this fog off, because I cannot deal with this. This is way too foggy down here. So there is a way around this that I've thought about recently, is you can actually make a priority junction. So if I were to set up a priority junction, it should have to be on top of this line right here, or well, any of the lines. I set it up on top of it and pipe off the additional water. That would solve a lot of this. But that's going to involve setting up a lot of packagers and making sure that we have enough packagers, and then in return, we're going to have packagers that are literally just set up to dump water. So you have to build a consistent amount of containers to dump the water, and the other option is you downgrade this or underclock it enough to where it kind of would fix these issues. And I'm really, really afraid to mess with this. In a perfect world, it would all be fine. But if there's any sort of flow variation at all, even if I set them up exactly fluids could be extremely tricky. So when it comes to getting 100% efficiency out of this, it's really kind of an ordeal. And I have 3 coal plants. I'm running almost like 180 coal generators throughout the world. I don't know the exact number, but it's a lot. And then I'm have about half of those are just set up with water extractors. So we're talking about 90 water extractors over across the entire length of the world. It's roughly about probably this last 10,000 or the last 1,000 here that we're not getting. In terms of the rest of the world, I have to do the math on it, but everything is running very efficiently, and this is probably where we're going to end the video. Maybe in another video, I will decide to kind of mess with this a little bit more, but it's almost like 12:30. I need to get this video out in 2 hours, so I still have to edit it and do all this stuff. This is going to be the end of the video. If you guys hit the like goal of 15 likes by Friday night, I will post a bonus video Saturday morning. All that being said, guys, thank you for all the support, and make sure you remember to remind Troggy that she did a very good job building this factory. If you've been around the channel for a long time, you're familiar with where I'm sitting, but if you're not, this is a conversation pit that I built in one of my train stations in Season 1. And the whole point of this building is to keep track of our subs. So very recently, we've hit 400 subs. I also forgot to put 300 subs up here, but that's up there as well. And this is just kind of take a second to thank you guys and celebrate hitting 400 subs. When I originally started off this channel, I remember like the first comment that I got, and it was just like the fact that anybody even responded to any of the content that I put out was amazing to me. And now we're at a point now where, you know, I get to share this with all of you, and none of this would be possible without you guys. So I just want to take a second to say thank you, and I appreciate all the support and everything that you guys do and take time to watch my videos. Thank you.